me, you, we all have cells from another person living inside of us. So mosaicism and chimerism, these are different terms that we geneticists use to describe this condition where that your cells in your body actually have different genetic materials. Mosaicism is more of you have different versions of yourself. Mosaicism comes from the word mosaic, describing a decoration that uses small square stones. And because the stones have different colors and pattern, so when we look at the art of the decoration, there are different patches. And that's exactly what happens with individuals sometimes with mosaicism, is that they're born with a different color pattern on their skin. So how did mosaicism happen? Well, if you think about it, we all come from one cell, and as our cells divide, it has to faithfully copy and replicate all the genetic information, and that's hard to do. When variation happens, it can be detrimental to the daughter cell, so the daughter cell will not survive and that variation will not continue. Sometimes, especially more often later in life than earlier in life, the variation can make the daughter cells very good at proliferation. It can become a cancer clone, eventually become cancer. This I covered in a different video. In a third situation is that it doesn't really kill the cell. It doesn't make the cell cancerous either. The cells can just proliferate with that variation in its genetic material. And this is mosaicism. So mosaicism can be clinically noticeable, such as those we call mosaic Down syndrome, mosaic Turner syndrome. Other times, it may just be not noticeable at all. So how often is mosaicism? With the development of more and more sophisticated genetic tests, scientists now believe that mosaicism exists in all of us, which makes sense. If you think about it, every time when a cell has to replicate its DNA, it's like it has to write 6 billion words one by one, and it's hard to not make any error. So that's mosaicism, where you have different versions of yourself living inside of you. So then what about chimerism? Chimerism comes from the word chimera. It's a mythological creature that's part lion, part goat, and part serpent. So when we say a person is chimerism, it means that the person has cells that come from a different person. And, it's obvious when there is transplant happening, but what about everyday people like us? Yes, me, you, we all have cells from another person living inside of us. It turns out that during pregnancy, cells are exchanged between the mother and the fetus. So if a woman has been through pregnancy, then most likely she has cells from all of those pregnancies seated at random places of her body. And likely those cells have adopted functions of the local tissue and the local organ. They're going to be inside of her for many years, for decades actually. And the exchange is bidirectional. So when we were being formed in our mother's womb, we would have received cells not only from our mother, but also from her previous pregnancies. So from your older brother, your older sister, and those cells are present at a low level in our body for decades long. And because it's such a low level, this condition is called microchimerism. It exists in all of us, and yes, our family truly stays with us forever. So that's it for today. We talked about chimerism, mosaicism, microchimerism. If you find it interesting, like, share, and subscribe. This is Dr. XY. I will see you next time.